Hi, this is Sean, and this channel is called Wolf Dog Moon. Today we're going to be reviewing this role-playing game book, Anima, Beyond Fantasy. If you like this kind of content, smash that like button. Consider subscribing to our channel for more content like this. We do a lot of role-playing game discussions on here, and you're welcome to join us, comment, and share with your friends. Alright, let's get into this. So, this Anima Beyond Fantasy is a dark style role-playing fantasy game, and it's put out by Fantasy Flight Games, and basically I'll show you on the back. It's put out by Fantasy Flight Games. They're an American company in association with these other two companies, Japanese company. So you have, it explains it on here, you got a Japanese and European developers, so you got a blending of Western medieval type fantasy and Japanese style fantasy, and so you get a blending of the two, and you get a blending of primarily it ends up being an anime style of role-playing game, and I'll show you when I give you a sneak peek into this book and just discuss how some of the different systems work in this, and also give you an idea of the style of artwork, and which is very anime style. Now, this fantasy role-playing game takes a different approach than something like Dungeons and Dragons or Basic Fantasy or Pathfinder, one of those type of role-playing games, where they're based on the D20 system, where you roll a D20 primarily for many of the actions that you're going to do in the game. This particular game instead uses percentile dice, so everything's based on 100 up to 100%, and the higher you score, the better. But there are different aspects to how different actions or combat scenarios or different situations play out based on what type of percentage that you roll. So this again is a dark fantasy, and it's, if you like Final Fantasy, the video game, and we actually on our channel have started up a let's play for Final Fantasy 13. I encourage you to check that out if you're interested in something that's probably similar in this vein of role-playing games style. So the Final Fantasy is very much a blending of Western and Japanese fantasy ideas and traditions and stuff, and this is that too. So in a second I'll take you into this, but I also want to just give some examples on what this style of role-playing game would be like, and what just some quick examples of some novels that if you've read them, or some manga if you've read it, you might enjoy this type of role-playing game. So if you like a series like this by Lonnie Taylor, and this is the sequel to Daughters of Smoke and Bone, where you essentially have demons, angels versus demons type of concept, then you'd definitely be attracted to something like Anima Beyond Fantasy. So something like this book, also these in the Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. So if you like this type of thing, where you got Nephilim and you have demons and demonic things, and different kinds of ways of fighting supernatural creatures and stuff in a dark gothic kind of fantasy type settings, and you like those kind of novels, then you would like Beyond Fantasy. And then some other examples I had here is like the Inheritance trilogy by the 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. So something like this. And then there are, as far as manga, there's probably all kinds of manga, but something like this, Noragami Stray God. So if you like this type of anime and manga, then Beyond Fantasy might be a good role-playing game for you to consider playing. So let's get into the actual book. Now this book right here, it's a really nice hardbound book, and I was able to pick this up off of Amazon. I've also seen it in there's a local bookstore where I live called Half Price Books, and I saw this there at one point. So it can appear at different places and stuff, but I was able to get a copy off of Amazon. And I think this is primarily a Spanish game in terms of popularity. But again, if you are looking for more of a dark fantasy, where with a more anime styling, and you're looking to, like a dark fantasy where there's angelic beings and there's warring factions of the supernatural and Nephilim and stuff like that, then this might be something cool for you to consider. So I'm just going to take you in real quick and just give you a brief overview of some of what you'll find in here. So it's Anima Beyond Fantasy, and so it gives a cool introduction. It goes over what a role-playing game is, and it walks you through some examples of play. And so what's neat about it is a lot of it's about playing in a way that you're focused on role-playing, and you might have to do a lot of investigation. It's not just about fighting and the encounters in terms of battles. Some of the role-playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, it really just wants to get to the action and focus on that, and a lot of the role-playing in that way gets lost in some of the minutia of these different almost video game styling and video game design philosophies. And so the game slows down and just becomes about rolling dice in terms in terms of combat and stuff, whereas this is trying to be more of a traditional role-playing game, just with its own type of game mechanics. So in this game, you have luck as one of your an aspect of ability scores, and so that comes into play. And here's an example of some of the artwork that's in here. You have some awesome black and white artwork. You have a color artwork, just amazing artwork in here. This, for the characteristics, uses strength, dexterity, agility, constitution, intelligence, power, willpower, and perception. So a lot of what you're going to be able to do in terms of your character is in your stats. So that's meant to allow the game mechanics to take over aspects of the game, to allow you to focus on role playing. So you won't have to constantly be looking through the book. Everything's in your stats, and you as a player, based on what character you're trying to play, you will dictate what you'll do, and the percentages of your success or failure also plays into how the action resolves and how your character grows. So I like that type of thing more so than some of the, like the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. This tries to definitely be more of a role-playing game. So we got the different classes here. You use, for this dark fantasy role-playing game, you use creation points. And again, something I would point to give you an idea of how you're approaching this role-playing game is something like Final Fantasy, if you're familiar with that game, in terms of how the point system works and stuff, and how you evolve the character. So although this it allows you to be these epic characters and stuff, but it's still squarely, the focus is on this being a role-playing game. So I'm just using Final Fantasy as an example because I think Final Fantasy tries to create these awesome characters and allow you to role play those characters, and so the game mechanics is a framework for that. And what's cool about this Beyond Fantasy is it's like that as well. So you can be a magic user, you got all the typical classes, but what's cool about this, again, you got awesome drawings in here, and then you got cool kind of sexy fantasy type. There's a lot of sex appeal in this, which is cool. And you got these other characters, they're called character types, they're called lost souls, and that's where the Nephilim comes in. And then there's just various aspects of angelic type beings categorized, and then you have demonic stuff. And so there's the dark aspect of this game is you're taking on those kinds of forces above and beyond the natural world. So here takes you through the different character classes. So you have primarily, there's different archetypes that you can be, and so you got warrior, and you got this badass artwork. You got an acrobatic warrior, you could be a paladin, and then you have a dark paladin, and then you have a weapon master, so if you want to be like the ultimate fighter. And then a technician is a weapon master that's more focused on like dexterity and is lightweight. And this weapon master looks like it's more focused on the inclusion of heavy armors. And then you have pure spiritual type warriors here, where they don't use weapons. And then the typical ranger you see in fantasies. Then you have like a shadow, so if you're using magics that incorporate you being kind of stealthy and a rogue. So then you have the pure thief, and you have these cool drawings. You have an assassin, you have the wizard, and it's actually called the wizard, which is cool. And then you have a warlock, which is a dark wizard that focuses on darker aspects. And then you have an illusionist, it's kind of like a gypsy, I feel like. And then wizard mentalist, and then summoner. You have a warrior summoner, you have a mentalist, and then to round it out you have a warrior mentalist. So that's almost like an Indian, I feel like, kind of like Prince of Persia type character. And then you have a freelancer, which is like a jack of all trades, or if you think of like a bard, to me that feels like a bard. So you get, with the character classes in here, they cover all the bases, and so they give you how you start off with your point system and stuff. So it takes some of if you can start with one of these archetypes, it gives you the basis for everything you can need to play, and so you can start fleshing out your character relatively quickly, and you're just going to use one of these as a template to start out with. So again, this has awesome artwork in it, and it's a cool way. You got, this does rely on tables, so the game master will use tables and stuff to determine some of outcomes, like especially like magic and some like the sorcery and stuff, because that's more it's more nebulous in terms of in the different ways that you could use spells and stuff, just like in real life. Magic is the unknown, and so here magic is the unknown, and so you're not always sure exactly what's going to happen. And magic's something to be, it's dangerous and something to be feared. And so this book's awesome in terms of the artwork. It's awesome styling. You got these great charts and different elements to it in terms of weapons you can use and stuff. And what's cool in here is if you want to be a samurai style warrior, you definitely can be that in here. They got all the weapons. They have katanas, and so unlike something like Dungeons and Dragons, for example, they always leave out the samurai swords and stuff and the katanas, and that should be part of every role-playing game. It's not just an Eastern thing. Everybody at one point, just like the Western gunfighter, it's part of the fantasy landscape, and it should always be included as, in a basic way. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and just show you a little bit more of the artwork before we wrap this up, and I give you my final thoughts. But it's got awesome artwork, and then it even has like a tarot card kind of element that you could be that type of character. So it's got high level characters you can become, and so what's cool is everything is included in this book. So you got everything the game master needs, and you got settings in here, and you also have, like, look, this is awesome artwork in here, slaying a dragon. So you get a lot of different options, what kind of character you can be, and it's great for your imagination. You can create the character that you want and you imagine in your head without these arbitrary limitations. And this doesn't have some of the generic aspects of some of the more, if you want to call them Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition mainstream, this has much more of something for everybody, and especially if you like anime and high levels of taking on angelic beings and demons and stuff, and this would be a cool option for so getting to my final thoughts. Just give me 1 second, please. Alright, getting to my final thoughts here. This is a pretty cool, has a pretty unique system, and I like the edginess of this, and the artwork is amazing. And if you're looking for an alternative to something like, for example, Dungeons and Dragons, this would be a great option. And you also, if you really like anime, Final Fantasy, some of those books I showed, then this could be a definite something for you to look into. It has a great anime feel to it and allows you to really use your imagination in awesome ways. And again, the game, well, everything the game master needs is in here. This also has, it has like the world map in it. So like an example of world map, it has the settings of the different, some towns and stuff and cities. And so also if you like isekai, the Japanese isekai stuff where they go into this another mysterious world, something like Konosuba or Overlord or ReZero, this would be a cool option. So you can play high fantasy adventure. I would say that this is, because it is using the percentage dice and stuff, there's a bit of crunchiness to it where you have to re-establish and learn, especially like the game master might have to really get into the crunchiness in terms of learning how to approach this game. But I think once you get the feel for it, you're going to be off and running and playing awesome adventures and quests in here. And hold on 1 second, please. So there is a little bit of crunching the numbers. Like I'll show you in the back an example of, like, okay, this is awesome artwork. Just to give you an idea of more of the awesome artwork. But in back here it gives you and then also there's a card game I think that goes with this. There's some form of card game that you can get to a supplementary. And I think maybe the card game inspired the creation of this book and this role-playing game system. So you can check it out. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this, and if you've played it, or if you're considering playing it, or you tried to play it, and how you feel about it. But here's what I would say. You know, you have to, like, here's an example of the character sheet. So it has a little bit of filling out, a lot of stuff that you're filling out. I tend to like less is more. And with the for example, if you check out my basic fantasy review, I encourage you to check that out, because that is a much more it's a basic role-playing game system, and it gets you into the action and playing pretty quickly. Whereas this looks like there's some little bit of crunchiness in terms of filling this out. You got multiple pages to this character sheet, and you got, here's where I'm saying about kind of like Final Fantasy. You have like these path levels and stuff. So there's a little bit of crunchiness to it that could be a little bit of a deterrent for some people. So I would keep that in mind. But I think once you start playing, then you'll get the feel, and also the game master will get the feel of what is predominantly you know, going to be used in each adventure. And so this definitely, to wrap this up here, it's getting a little bit long here. Pretty cool system. It's a dark fantasy style role-playing game that uses percentage dice in a unique way with mechanics. And if you use those basically the template characters, and you choose one of those to start, then it's not, there's just a few more points for you to spend on customizing your character, your preference. And I think you can be starting the session and having some awesome adventures. So I encourage you to check this one out, especially if you're looking for an alternative to something like Dungeons and Dragons, or if you really like anime style adventures in some of those books that I showed earlier in the video. So hope this video finds you having an amazing day, and we hope that you have a blessed day. Signing out.